You're not burned out because you work hard. You're burned out because of this. Have you noticed you're more irritated lately? Your patience is shorter, your fuse is shorter, you're more exhausted than you used to be, and even when things are technically going well, you still feel pressure sitting in your chest. You can't quite relax, you can't quite switch off, and you can't quite enjoy the success you worked so hard to build because deep down, you know you can't keep operating like this forever. And here's the question: is the business serving you, or are you serving the business? Because many leaders don't realize they're trapped until the pressure starts affecting everything else: their health, their family, their peace of mind, their actual leadership of their company. And today I want to talk about the quiet costs almost nobody talks about: the cost of white knuckling your business every single day.
He's not just a coach, he's a leader of leaders. With over 50 years of real-world experience, he's helped business owners double their profits, build leaders from within, and reclaim their time.
A mentor, an author, and a chief reinvention officer who's guided thousands to lead with clarity, confidence, and impact. Please welcome Henry Chidgey.
If you run skill crews, own a business, or manage operations, I know you felt this. The pressure never completely goes away. Jobs need attention. Customers need answers. Cash flow needs protection. Employees need leadership. Problems need solving, and somehow it all seems to come back to you. I see three challenges over and over again. The first one: leaders become emotionally overloaded. Second, they remain mentally connected to work even when they're physically away from it. And third, they build businesses that depend entirely on their personal energy. The cost: stress becomes normal, exhaustion becomes normal, frustration becomes normal, and eventually survival mode becomes normal. Not a good place to live. The problem is that survival mode was never meant to be permanent. Yet many leaders spend years living just there in that space. The longer it continues, the heavier everything feels. Here's the good news. The answer isn't working harder. Most leaders have already tried that. I know I tried that. The answer isn't pushing yourself further. Most leaders are already doing that too. The answer is building leadership systems that reduce pressure instead of increasing. Systems that create ownership. Systems that create accountability. Systems that develop leaders around you. Because freedom doesn't come from carrying more. Freedom comes from building something that doesn't require you to carry everything alone. That's where teams come from. And today, I'll show you how that shift begins. Before we continue, if you'd like help leading with more calm, clarity, and consistency, especially during difficult conversations, I put together a free gift called Get Calm, Clear Leadership in 14 Days Without Overthinking Every Hard Conversation. You can get it at the link right below this video, go.henrychidgey.com. Now let's talk about what white knuckling your business is really costing you. Over the years, I worked with many business owners who looked successful from the outside. The business was growing, revenue was increasing, projects were moving, customers seemed to be happy, but behind the scenes, they were exhausted. They couldn't relax, they couldn't disconnect. They couldn't imagine taking a real break. Not because the business was failing, but because the business depended on them for everything. Every decision, every problem, every conversation, every crisis. And eventually, I realized something. The biggest threat wasn't operational, it was personal. Because when leaders stay under constant pressure for too long, they slowly lose the very things that they built the business to create. And those things are pretty important in my world: freedom, peace, and enjoyment. And that's when I understood that leadership isn't just about building a successful business. It's about building a sustainable one. Your short temper is often a symptom of this. Many leaders think that frustration is the problem. It usually isn't. It's the symptom. The real problem is prolonged pressure. When everything depends on you, your nervous system never gets a chance to relax. You're always alert, always anticipating problems, always solving issues, always carrying responsibility, and eventually your emotional capacity starts shrinking. Small problems seem much bigger. Minor frustrations trigger stronger reactions, way out of balance. Patience becomes harder to maintain, not because you're weak, because you've been carrying too much for too long. I worked with another business owner who believed he had an anger problem. His team agreed with that. They thought the same thing. But after spending time with him, it became clear that anger wasn't the root issue. Exhaustion was. Every decision flowed through him. Every issue landed on his desk. Every problem required his attention. When we started reducing that burden through delegation and leadership development, his reactions changed dramatically. Not because we fixed his temper, because we reduced the pressure created. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. Many leaders are carrying pressure they were never meant or desired to carry by themselves. That's exactly why I created this free leadership gift for you. Go visit the link below and see what I've created for you. Now let's look at what actually creates long-term leadership freedom. Survival mode is not a leadership strategy. When leaders stay under pressure too long, they stop leading proactively. They start reacting. Every day becomes about solving today's fires. They're firefighters. Getting through today's problems, managing today's stress. But great leadership isn't reactive. It's intentional. You cannot build a strong future while constantly living in emergency mode. At some point, the focus has to shift from reacting to problems to building systems that prevent those. That means creating clarity. That means creating accountability. That means creating ownership. And that means creating consistency. So, accountability, ownership, consistency, and clarity. Because without systems, every challenge eventually returns to the leader. One contractor told me he felt trapped inside the business he built. Every decision required his approval. Every issue came through him. He hadn't built a company. He had built a dependency. And over time, we implemented clearer expectations, stronger accountability, and leadership development. Gradually, the team became more capable. Problems were solved faster. Ownership increased. And for the first time in years, he felt he could breathe. Now, that word, that's where I think all of us want to be. Now, the next point I want to talk about is leadership should and can create freedom. This is a lesson many leaders learn too late. The goal isn't simply building a successful business. The goal is building the business that supports your life and your desires. A business that creates freedom. A business that allows you to step away occasionally. A business that doesn't depend entirely on your emotional energy. That is what I call calm accountability. People know what they own. Their expectations are clear. The standards are visible. Accountability exists. Leadership is shared, and the business stops depending on constant heroics. This is TRIP leadership. TRIP leadership. Trust people enough to give responsibility, respect, communicate clearly and consistently. Integrity, maintain standards regardless of pressure. And then the final one, and perhaps the most important, help people understand why ownership matters. Because leadership should create freedom over time, not permanent survival. If you're realizing you've been carrying pressure for far too long, you're not alone. Most business owners were taught how to hustle harder. Very few were taught how to build systems that create calm and consistency. But that can change. Start with my free gift. Get Calm, Clear Leadership. Sound familiar? In 14 days without overthinking every hard conversation. Visit the link below at gohenrychidgey.com. And if you like direct help, developing stronger supervisors, creating accountability systems, and building a business that doesn't depend entirely on you, book a field-tested mentoring session at henrychidgey.com. Just go there. There's a link where you can pick a time that works for both you and me, and we'll have a really good session. Remember this: success means very little if the business slowly drains your health, your peace, your relationships, and your joy. So stop asking, how much more can I carry? And start asking, what needs to change so I don't have to carry all of this alone anymore? Because leadership should and can create freedom, not permanent survival mode. You lead with trust, you lead with respect, you lead with integrity, you do what you say you do, and you lead with purpose, something bigger than you, even bigger than your company. And I'll see you on the next one. Go out there and be the leader you're destined to be. Take care for now.